Last summer, Navy Captain Daniel Cuff replaced John Jackson as Joint Guam Program Office Forward Director. But he has had little to say since then because there's been so much uncertainty over the military buildup. But now, in the wake of word of a downsized buildup and a supplemental EIS currently underway to select a new firing range, the way forward is more clear.
Is there still a need for a firing range given the prospect of the downsized buildup?
Absolutely. If there is any final decision to change the force laydown, and again, that's a policy decision as being discussed at higher levels back in Washington, but the need for a training range is still significant and it's still a requirement for the Marines to be here.
The supplemental EIS is looking at Naval Magazine as one possible alternative location to the Pocket area.
And we are performing it because of several different reasons. Primarily, the first being that the Undersecretary of the Navy made the commitment to the government of Guam, the people of Guam, that we would not impede upon Pocket Village and Pocket Cave and the access. And also the Marine Corps is using a probabilistic approach, which also kind of modifies and refines their training requirements. We're still interested in the Route 15 area, but also the Naval Magazine area.
It's not the first time that the Navy has looked at Naval Magazine as a possible site for the firing range. It was the subject of the first EIS back in 2010, but there were issues found at Naval Magazine.
There are cultural resources that we have to be concerned with. There are ancestral resources or spots that we're still concerned with. The Naval Magazine is within the watershed for the Finna Reservoir, so that's an area that we're still concerned with. So all those initial concerns and determinators are still in existence today. It's the fact, though, that the new training requirements have been slightly modified to the point where we might be able to accommodate a training range in that area.
The hope this time is that the so-called probabilistic approach will allow the firing range to be squeezed into a smaller area.
This probabilistic approach does potentially have a change to the requirements. And what it does, it uses the topography of the area that we're looking at. It uses the specifics as to the ammunition that we're going to use. And basically, it more confines the training capabilities and flexibility for the Marine Corps.
Cuff is well aware of the sensitivities over the location of the firing range and the recently dismissed lawsuit over putting that range in the Pocket area.
Did that lawsuit prompt this supplemental EIS?
No. There is that feeling out there that the lawsuit caused it, and that's not the case. Again, it's the probabilistic approach, which kind of refined the training requirements. It's the commitment by the Undersecretary of Work to the people of Guam. And again, if you look back at the initial EIS, there was not a final decision made at that point. So when we look at all these different variables, that is why we are doing the supplemental, to ensure that when we do site the training range here on Guam, that we're doing it correctly and we're taking into consideration the sensitivities here on the island, as well as the training requirements for the Marine Corps.
The scoping process has now begun. Comments are being accepted online, by mail, or in person at 3 different public meetings being held starting on March 17th. Whether it's the Pocket area or Naval Magazine, a final decision is more than a year away. Kevin Kerrigan, PNC News.